Joining me right now is Acting Secretary of Homeland Security, Kevin McAleenan. And Secretary McAleenan, it is good to see you this morning. Thanks so much for joining us.
Good to see you, Maria.
Let's first get a status check after a lot of pushback from the Democrats in terms of money for the border wall, in terms of the funding. How would you characterize funding right now? Are you facing any funding shortfalls that would mean canceling any projects?
So first, let me just acknowledge your point about the dangers our agents are facing out there on the border. We're very glad our agents came out of that encounter okay with their training, with their effective response. But it does highlight this dual nature of what we face at the border security and the humanitarian aspects of what we've been working to counter all year long. But in terms of the funding, I would highlight two different areas. One, we've asked for significant investments in border security. The president's asked for additional border wall from his first day in office. We've received some funding, and not the full amount that we've asked for from Congress. That appropriated funding is already being directed to build wall. But then he declared a national emergency to access additional Department of Defense funding, counter-drug funding, as well as military construction funding that we're now deploying to fund additional wall projects, and including key areas of the border where we need to replace wall that's not effective at all and put new wall there, and also extend our coverage of the border. So with the president's commitment, we're going to have 450 plus miles of wall done by the end of 2020, and we're really ramping up the pace of construction right now. 450
miles by the end of 2020. You're also arresting human smugglers. You are seeing the numbers go down in terms of those people in custody. This is the first time you're talking publicly, first Sunday that you're talking since releasing the August data. Give us some of that data in terms of where we are.
Yeah, what we saw on Monday with our release is the third month of significant progress on the border. The third month in a row of more than a 20% decrease in the flow of people crossing unlawfully or presenting at ports of entry without documents. That's a 56% decline since our peak in May. And that's driven by two factors. First, you got to disrupt the flow, and we've done that with our international partnerships. Government of Mexico has stepped up. They've placed 25,000 National Guard on their southern border on the transportation routes. And we have agreements with Central America, starting with Guatemala, as well as El Salvador and Honduras, where we're targeting human smugglers. They have more prosecutions ongoing right now of human smugglers, arrests they've made in the last several months, than at any time of the history of the entire region. And that's based on our leadership, engaging Central America, engaging Mexico to focus on this as a shared problem that we need a joint response to. And we're seeing the impact of that in the reduction of the flow.
You also saw a Supreme Court ruling this week on asylum. Give us your sense in terms of the impact. It's being called a game changer.
Yeah, that's the other side of the coin. In addition to the disruption with our international partnerships, it's the efforts we're taking using existing law in the books. Since we can't get Congress to help fundamentally change the immigration law to strengthen the system and the framework, we're using the existing law in the books in innovative ways to place additional layers where we can have integrity in that process and repatriate people that don't have a valid claim to stay in the United States. So this recent Supreme Court ruling gives us another tool to address the asylum problem and the weaknesses in our asylum system that have been inviting this flow over time. So it's another thing we're going to put in place in the coming weeks and months to ensure that we don't have to release people that don't have a valid claim, and we can repatriate them effectively.
Mr. Secretary, talk a bit about what's in the law today in terms of immigration for this country, because the president's skeptics, and certainly on that Democrat stage this past week, the Democrats like to talk about the president's push on illegal migrants coming into this country as if that's the policy. But you have a policy where we let in how many people on a regular basis every year?
Yeah, there's a whole focus on just one side of our efforts at the Department of Homeland Security. We also, our Citizenship and Immigration Services Bureau has naturalized more people last year than any year in our history. Over 1 million people that went through the lawful process and had a valid right to remain in the U.S. So it's a huge part of our effort as a department to both ensure that lawful immigration system is functioning effectively, and we are properly processing people applying for citizenship. But of course, we have to have that security element and ensure people that are trying to come unlawfully are not allowed to stay.
Yeah.
I'd also like to emphasize, Maria, that we remain the most generous nation in the world in terms of processing both refugee and asylum applications, and we continue to do that work as well.
Right. I mean, if we're letting in 1 million or 1.2 million every year, the illegals that we're talking about are jumping the line, right? So the people who waited to get their citizenship, their naturalization through the green card process, et cetera, they have waited and done it the legal way. You've got the illegals just getting in the front of the line to just try to get it first.
That's exactly right, and that's why these measures, including the Supreme Court ruling on the asylum rule, are so important, because it allows us to combat that unlawful entry and repatriate people that are trying to jump the line and give us more resources and space to focus on those that are following the rules.
Secretary, I want to ask you and get your thoughts on this drone attack in Saudi Arabia. I mean, this is the world's single most important piece of oil infrastructure, and it was destroyed with a drone attack. How worried should we be in the U.S. that a drone attack could take out important facilities here or fatalities?
Well, first of all, it was a very serious attack, and the Department of State and Department of Defense will be working with our partners in the government of Saudi Arabia on appropriate defensive measures and responses. On the U.S. side, we don't have a hostile actor like the Houthis that are supported by the Iranian government with that kind of capability with any range toward the United States. That said, drones or unmanned aerial systems do present a Homeland Security concern. We got new authority last year from Congress to both do research and development and start to put countermeasures in across our various missions, whether it's the Secret Service, whether it's CBP on the border, or TSA protecting our airports and aviation infrastructure. So it's a key issue that we're getting better at right now.
Yeah, and in fact, the Department of Homeland Security was created after the horrific attacks of September 11th. This week, we acknowledged 18 years ago this happened. I have this picture that I took. I took this picture of what the North and South Towers look like today after the horrific attack, the worst attack on our country, where 2,977 people lost their lives. This is the scene today, 18 years later. That's the North and South Tower, which are now pools. What can you tell us about the Homeland 18 years later?
Well, we've come a long way in securing the Homeland. I was honored to be there on September 11th last week at the memorial, and that view you took is actually very similar to the view from the U.S. Customs and Border Protection and the FEMA offices in the Freedom Tower. For CBP, they came back to Lower Manhattan 2 years ago for the first time after the 9/11 attacks, and that commitment, people that were there on 9/11, we have people working in that tower that were there on the 93 attacks as well, shows that will and commitment to protect the country that's sustained. But our strategy going forward is to continue to invest in those areas that have helped us prevent a significant attack from international terrorists trying to access the United States. That's been DHS's mission and focus in terms of our operation and authorities on the international side. But we also want to empower communities, state and local law enforcement to prevent mass attacks and targeted violence here in the U.S., as we've seen that becoming an increasing concern.
So what are you doing going forward? Are you coming out with a new package, new tools in terms of upping the security of America?
We are. We're going to be issuing a new counterterrorism strategy that, again, reinvests in those things that are so effective. The CBP National Targeting Center that identifies and prevents terrorist threats from approaching the United States. TSA technology that keeps our aviation system safe. But also recognizing that DHS has a critical role in training, the awareness, the vulnerability assessments, the active shooter trainings, in supporting local communities on identifying individuals that might be on a pathway to violence and helping create off-ramps, helping interdict that before it becomes an attack. So we're not only worried about the big Al-Qaeda or ISIS sponsored type of attack, but also trying to help communities prevent the mass attacks and targeted violence that happens domestically as well.
Secretary, thank you. Thanks for your work, and we appreciate you joining us this morning.
Thanks so much, Maria. You have a good day.
And to you, Secretary McAleenan there.